Hello and welcome. My name's Steven Dickens and you're joining us live from IBM Think with the 6.5. We're coming to you with Tina Tarquinio. Hey Tina.
Hey Steven, thanks for having me and thank you for coming to Think and sharing this experience with us.
So we know each other really well.
We do.
But tell the listeners and viewers what you do for IBM.
So I have the privilege of leading product management for IBM Z and LinuxOne. I have what I think is the best job at IBM. That means my team and I are the ones that introduce all of the new offerings for IBM Z and LinuxOne. So IBM Z16, we're working on Z Next and everything in between.
So you mentioned Z16 there. Let's dive straight in. I track your earnings really closely. In the last quarter, you guys delivered 5% constant currency growth for the platform, 8 quarters into the cycle. I think that's unprecedented. I think you guys are really rocking it with some of those numbers. Tell me why you think that's resonating so strongly with clients and why you're able to drive that growth so late.
Awesome, and you're absolutely right. I would first have to give kudos to all of the IBMers and our clients that work together to decide what technology we would put into the system, because that really is what's driving this growth. As you just heard Arvind mention in the keynote, we talked about the Telum processor that has AI inferencing embedded on the processor, and that has really been a game changer for our clients. We have over 150 clients that are doing proof of concept, pre-production or in production using that technology. Really spectacular. The other is just the movement within, regulated industries. There's a lot of technology on IBM Z that helps our clients achieve the swift movement of the regulations and the different countries they have to serve in. And it's really been outstanding to talk to our clients and learn how they're harnessing this technology. And I think that's really at the heart of the growth. But thank you for the recognition.
Well, so you mentioned the Telum processor there and you mentioned AI. I don't think people would naturally think AI and mainframe unless they're deep in the technology. Tell us a little bit about what IBM's doing and what you're seeing clients adopt when it comes to Telum. I think there's a really good story there around transactional AI, but maybe if you could double click, that'd be great.
Yeah. When we were designing the processor, and we are a little bit obsessive, as many of our clients know, about getting their input on what we are going to put into the next set of offerings. And when we were really digging into, how could they harness the power of AI, there were 2 roadblocks that we encountered the most from them. The first was there was no technology available with low enough latency where they could do the inference in transaction. So they were making decisions. If the transaction was over a certain amount, they would do it, but they would offload it and then bring it back, or they'd do it in batch at night or over the next day. And that really was impacting their ability to have true fraud detection. The second roadblock, once we solved the latency technology part by putting the inference on the processor, the second roadblock we heard was deployment of the models was taking too long. So you'd have a data science team that wrote a model in R or Python, pick your favorite, and they'd throw it over the line to the production team that have to rewrite the model. And then the cycle would go back and forth. But that's not really good for agile deployment of models which rapidly change. So with the IBM Z16, not only did we introduce the accelerator on the processor, we introduced technology that you could build and train your model on any platform and deploy it right on IBM Z. And that has really been a game changer. And we're seeing use cases from fraud detection. One of the major US health providers is using it to do pre-screening on radiation, x-rays, and everything in between. It's really amazing.
So I think the key thing you mentioned there for me was inference in transaction. You blew past it really quick, but I think that's super key. You look at the fraud use cases, credit card transactions. So many of those workloads are transactionally on the mainframe, but being able to do that inferencing at real time in the transaction. We hear a lot about generative AI, we hear a lot about all the sort of fancy use cases for creating sort of images, but really the transactional integrity and bringing that inferencing is key. So what are you seeing that, you mentioned 150 clients there, is that what's driving that adoption?
That's where it starts, right? So clients now have to either offload the scoring that or they do it later in the day, and this allows them to score every transaction, everything from my favorite Starbucks all the way up through a large purchase. And this means they can score it real time. If anybody ever looked at their mobile banking app, you would see maybe you had a transaction and it would say pending. That means the bank is still working out the transaction, whether or not it's has it settled the transaction, the money's moved back and forth. This allows that to speed up because you can score the transaction, you can settle the payment quicker, and that's good for everybody. If you have a fraudulent transaction, I'm sure we've all been on the other end of an email that says something's been declined or your credit card's been used. The mitigation after the fact is really painful. So not only can you avoid all that after the fact mitigation, you can just have a safe transaction up front. And all of that real time, less than 1 millisecond of latency is really incredible.
Well, you talked about that from a customer service point of view. There's obviously lost transactions or trying to provide that transactional integrity. That's huge for the bank, but also huge for the merchants, huge for the customers. So one of the other areas I know you guys are innovating on is this kind of whole hybrid cloud piece. There's lots going on with containerization and microservices. Again, not something somebody would naturally associate with the mainframe, but you guys have been doing a good job of embedding some of that containerized technology directly into the operating system. Maybe you can talk to some of that. Yeah,
I'll share a few. There's a lot of ways we are doing that, and we have been on this journey for, I would say, several years and generations. Most recently, in March, we announced ZOS containers. This is the ability to have native containers on ZOS that act like any other container on any other platform, no unique things on Z, which is really incredible in ZOS.
I think that's just, we're talking about it, we've been tracking this for a while. ZOS and containers in the same sentence, that technology bedded directly into the operating system.
And we did it so that it was on par with other containers in the industry. So similar terminology, similar movement, and that was our goal, right? To not be different, and it's really incredible. We had Linux on Z for over 20 years now, full container platform on there. We've introduced OpenShift platform on Linux on Z and ZOS. Again, you can run OpenShift on ZOS. It's really a testament to our teams and our clients, paving the way, really to have the mainframe be this like a superpower asset that drives the rest of the hybrid cloud. If you think about the data and the transactions that reside on Z, you want that to, charge up the rest of your hybrid cloud and not duplicate and take advantage of both the resiliency and the security that you have.
So what's been the reaction? I think you guys are on fire when it comes to that development journey, making the mainframe a tier 1 participant in a hybrid cloud story. We saw it in the keynote today, Arvin talking about the mainframe. What's been that customer reaction to what you guys are doing in the hybrid cloud space?
Yeah, that once they figure out the right use case to get started. I would say almost 10 years ago we introduced, just exposing APIs, right? So you could take advantage of business logic, and that's, sort of a little crumb to get started. And then from there, now we're into Ansible, automation, all of this. It's really unlocked, capability they didn't know they have or couldn't take advantage of. It's unlocked their ability to work across their enterprises with different teams. And most of everything we do in life is a team sport. So when that starts to happen across clients and they work together using all the technology they have at their hands, pretty incredible outcomes.
So, as you mentioned at the very top of our discussion, you've got what you think is the best job in IBM. I've heard you say that for years now. One thing I know you and your teams are focused on is not only the next box, but what comes after that.
Yeah.
There's 2-3 generations in the cycle. Probably can't ask you too much, but tell me what you can about what we should be expecting for Z next.
Yeah, so Steven is right. We are always working on 2 or 3 of the next generations at any given time. So Z Next is well underway. We're in the sort of the final test stages of that. We're working on Z Next plus 1 and Z Next plus 2. IBM is incredibly unique platform around the mainframe in that we design everything from the silicon all the way up to building and manufacturing the systems. So to make that early decision on what's the right technology node, 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer, we're making those decisions now for Z Next plus 2. In general, you can expect us to continue to deliver accelerators in the system. So Z16, we had the AI accelerator. Before that, we had compression encryption. So we'll continue to look at accelerators where we can, really speed up a transaction.
Might be a bit of AI in there, I'd imagine.
I'm sure.
That's not too speculative,
yes,
I guess.
We'll have next generation of AI acceleration, and we're going to double down on other infrastructure in the system for AI. You'll continue to see us focus on security. We're still the industry's first and only quantum safe system. And then I think what you'll see is how do we combine these technologies? How do we combine AI for security and make compliance easier, less friction for our clients? How do we combine AI with parts of the system that are maybe doing workload management or other monitoring type of things on the system? So you'll see us start to put things together. Way far out, you'll see us start to figure out how do we put quantum and Z together for our client's use case. So, and I say I have the best job at IBM because I get to, learn about all of that and work with teams that make that happen.
So I think that's a fantastic way to wrap us up here. If people are watching this, what would be the 3 key takeaways that you'd have them take away from not only IBM Think, but how they should be thinking about the mainframe?
Well, at IBM Think, there's going to be really great announcements about the IBM Watsonx Assistant for Z, so stay tuned for that. There's really incredible ways where IBM's bringing our unique information to help clients with skills on IBM Z. For the mainframe, I would have you think about, what business problem are you still trying to solve? Because I would almost guarantee we'd have a way to help you get closer to that with the IBM Z16. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AI. Many ways we can help you accelerate that journey and take advantage of the data you have on the platform.
Well, Tina, always great chatting to you.
Thank you for having me.
You've been watching another episode of the 6.5, brought to you live from IBM Think. I'm your host, Steven Dickens. Please check out the other episodes, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.